Good morning,
Morning.
and welcome to Unity of Fort Collins. We are completing Pride Month in case you were curious about the hat. Reverend Liz loves to wear her hats whenever she can. This is Reverend Liz, I'm Reverend Divine, and we are co-ministers here at Unity. We want to welcome you and let you know that wherever you are on your adventure in spirit, you're welcome here. No matter what your formal religious beliefs are or lack thereof, anything that you are about in spirit will fit here. And we are all continuously exploring different aspects of ourselves. That's part of life, that we grow and we evolve. Sometimes we digress a little and then we catch ourselves. And part of the beauty of spiritual community is when we kind of digress a little bit, there's always someone there to take you by the hand and say, come on, let's go together. So we welcome you and all that you have to bring to our community that adds extra flavor so that it is our community. And let's see, I think we have some announcements.
We do have some
I think
announcements.
so.
Well, first of all, many of you may or may not know, but we have in-person services now. It doesn't require any reservations. We are being mindful of different people's needs. So we are still asking folks that when you enter the building to wear a mask, and when you're walking about the building, wear a mask. If you're fully vaccinated, you have the permission to release the mask while you're listening to the service. If you happen to want to sing to one of the songs, we need you to put the mask back on. Still encouraging everyone to have social distancing as well. Now, the exciting thing that is happening here today and next week is that we have guest musicians who are actually our music leader candidates for the position here at Unity of Fort Collins. So we do have a survey for our family and well, yes, the Unity of Fort Collins family and friends, members and friends, to fill out so we can get your feedback. So that'll be this Sunday, and with L will be playing today in this recorded service. And if we're live streaming next week, you'll get to see our next person next week or show up in person. Some changes in our schedule of events. Tuesdays at 10 a.m., that was the Heart Talks meeting in a park, is going to be taking a summer hiatus. So there won't be any Heart Talks on Tuesday mornings until the fall, and you can stay tuned for more information. All information is found on the Unity of Fort Collins website under News and Events. We have some changes to our Wednesday evenings. The first and third Wednesdays beginning in July, that would be July 7th and July 21st. There will be a meditation in person, and that will be live streamed as well. So 6 p.m. on Wednesdays, the first and third Wednesdays will be doing meditation. Now, July 7th in particular is going to have movie night, and that's going to happen after the meditation. So at 7 p.m., the movie called King of Hearts. This is from 1966.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. There you go. So there is going to be a movie held here. There's no cost. Love donation is appreciated. We're asking that folks wear their masks when they come in. There won't be any food. You can bring your water bottle. And if you're fully vaccinated, you can remove your mask during the movie showing. And then the second and fourth Wednesdays, back to staying on the Wednesdays, we have something new, and that will be the Grief and Loss Spiritual Support Group that Divine is overseeing. And you want to say anything about that?
Yes, I really felt that after all we've experienced in a amazingly interesting way this past year and a half, that a support group for those of us grieving, and that just doesn't mean death, it means all kinds of things that we may not even be clear of, that we're harboring in our heart, that are creating some anxiety, some sadness, frustration, anxiousness, even anger. We're having a support group. It will meet at 6 o'clock here at the church. I will say that if some of you that are live streamers that prefer to do things live stream are interested in this kind of thing, please reach out to the office to let Julie know. And I would then consider doing something completely separate live stream. And the reason I say separate is I want to hold a sacred container for confidentiality. And I want to make sure that if it's separate groups, that each group really feels safe to express what's going on in their hearts. So it'll be organic. We'll see how many people come. It's not something you have to come and make a commitment every month, twice a month. You can come on when it feels a calling to you. I just want you to know that we are here for you. And this is just a way for us to know you a little bit better, you to know us a little bit better, and to perhaps have some clearing through the process. So if this resonates for you, feel free to come check it out. It'll be the second and fourth Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And remember, that is here.
Yeah, that's July 14th and the 28th. I like it because it's all on the sevens, and I do know my math on the sevens multiplication. Last but definitely not least, we're so happy to be able to do some small events here at the church, now that we're open. But we are starting an in-person class. We've been doing classes online for a long time. This class is entitled How to Talk. No, not How to Talk. Let's try.
We know how to talk.
Well, we do. How to pray without talking to God. It is based from this book by Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett. Again, we have these books here at the office, How to Pray Without Talking to God. Now, you want to know when it is, I'm sure. So it will be on Tuesday nights beginning in August. That begins on August 3rd for 7 weeks. It'll be from 6 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. And we will be doing a deep dive into this book to talk about what the unity prayer is, various types of prayers. And this class is going to be a prerequisite for the prayer chaplain training program that Dee is going to provide in the fall. So all the information that you need to get signed up will be here at the church, and it's also, of course, on the website. So please check it out. We'd love to have a great class and learn more about this power of prayer, and join us in this class together.
Absolutely.
And now, if we can just sit back, take a breath, and let Reverend Divine center us in our opening prayer.
Let us just take a moment to center ourselves, to go inward, to open up our spirit, to open up our mind, our willingness to listen, to hear with our ears, to hear with our heart, all that wants to be said at this sacred time together. I'm knowing that between the music that you hear, the message that you hear, and the willingness to go within and to listen to your own wisdom speaking to you, that whatever you are seeking will be connecting. And even if you are in a space where you're just listening, you're not seeking anything at all, that you be receptive to knowing that something might be stirred within you. And that in that stirring, that you know that that's a welcoming presence for you, and that you feel safe and comfortable and willing to hear what wants to be shared, to hear what wants to be known, and perhaps to hear and just to be reminded of that which you already know. Because oftentimes we know a lot and we forget a lot. So gentle reminders help us to stay the course in the progression on this journey called life. So I'm just knowing that your hearts are fulfilled, and that you continue to be that great bright light of expression that you are, knowing that who you are came here to be a joyful expression, to share with one another, and that we connect our bright lights with one another. So I just call this time good and very good, and that we just be the presence and allow ourselves to relax into that presence. Calling this time good and very good. If you'll anchor it with me, we're just going to say, and so it is. And now it's time for our unity blessing. And the words will be up on the screen. And I'd love for you to say that out loud with me. There's something very powerful when we speak our words out loud. Not only do they come through, but the vibrational energy from saying it out loud kind of resonates and kind of opens us up more to hearing it and being it. So the words will be up. And now if you'll join me in our unity blessing. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world.
It's very exciting to be introducing today's guest musician, singer, songwriter. She's actually a candidate, music leader candidate for the position here at Unity of Fort Collins. So we're excited to have her in person at church on Sunday, and also to be having her recording for today's service so that you get to experience her as well. Her name, Elizabeth Huditz, and she's known as Elle, spelled E-L. She's a lifelong musician married to Al Hager, so it's Elle and Al. They play in a duo in a band, writing and covering songs about peace, love, and the environment. Elle is a retired music teacher who began playing professionally in the 70s in Atlanta and then moved to the Chicago area before moving to Fort Collins in 1988. She led a children's choir and an adult choir before getting her MU degree from CSU. She's written shows for and with students while teaching in public schools and musicals by herself, winning first place in the Creative Arts Symposium at Colorado State University in 1998 for, quote, Imagine a Perfect World. She knows and has played with many musicians around Fort Collins and the state. She's also very involved in environmental activism since the 90s and is interested in environmental and many of the human rights events. She helped raise 3 children in Fort Collins, Previn, Hollis, and Aria, losing Hollis to cancer in 2011. So let's open our hearts to Elle Elizabeth Huditz for her debut and for her showcasing what she has to bring to our community. Thank you, Elle.
Hi, I'm Elle Hewitts, and I'm going to play What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies blue, clouds white. myself. What a wonderful world.
Good morning. I'm Nina Kunze, member of Unity of Fort Collins. I have today's reading for us. Divine strength invigorates my body and quickens my mind. If I feel my energy waning during a time of vigorous physical or mental activity, if my get up and go has got up and gone, I remember these inspiring words from The Prayer of Faith by Hannah More Kohaus. God is my strength, unfailing, quick. The strength of God is my strength, and it's more than sufficient to meet my every need. More than toughness or forcefulness, spiritual strength is quiet fortitude, a rootedness in the inexhaustible wellspring of the divine. Today, I release all thought of weakness or impossibility. I feel the power of divine strength flowing through me, invigorating my body, and bringing renewed clarity to my thoughts. The strength of God is my strength.
Hi, I am going to do a song by Farron. It's called Testimony. There's godlike and warlike and strong like only some show. There's sad like and mad like and had like we know. But by my life may I spirit, and by my heart may I woman, and by my eyes be I open, and by my hand be I whole. They say slowly brings deletion, but no matter how slow I walk, there are faces, empty phrases, and doors of loves. But by my life may I spirit, by my heart may I woman, and by my eyes be I open, and by my hands be I whole. You young ones, you're the next ones, and I hope you choose it well. Though you try hard, you may fall prey to the jaded jewels. But by your life be you spirit, and by your heart be you woman, and by your eyes be you open, and by your hands be days we find them still. We'll take you to them, you take your children. They take their own little turn, and by their life be they spirit, and by their hearts be they woman, and by their eyes be they open, and by their hands be they whole. Be they whole.
Okay, onliners. Yes, you're an onliner. It's quiz time. So how many of you have watched and listened to any of our services this past month? Raise your hand. Can you raise it a little higher so I can see it? Thanks. It's so much easier to see the hands raised when you're in an in-person service. However, we're so grateful to be able to share our services with you and with the world virtually now. That's definitely been one of the gifts that we've received from the pandemic. So this is your quiz or a review of what we've been talking about for these past 3 Sundays in June. First question in your quiz is, what has been our theme, one word that we've been focusing on in June? I'm listening. I heard it. Somebody said strength. That's right. We've been studying the power of strength. Now, if you have listened to any of Reverend Divine's or my talks in this entire 2021, you know that we are studying every month something in particular. And that's right. It's the 12 powers, or the 12 spiritual abilities that was formulated by the co-founder, Charles Fillmore of Unity. He studied metaphysically all the places and people in the Bible, including the 12 disciples. And he recognized that each of the disciples had a specific trait or characteristic. He called them a power or a spiritual ability that they each had, and recognized that each of us have those powers or abilities, but they're like a muscle. You can have a muscle, but if you don't use it and develop it, it's not of much use. So we are taking one of the 12 powers from the 12 disciples and studying it each and every month. So June has been dedicated to the power called strength. And in our talks, Reverend Divine and I covered 3 of the major aspects of strength that Linda Martella Whitsett speaks of in her book called Divine Audacity. It's a book that covers these 12 powers, and highly recommend the book if you'd like to read more about them. So in her book on Divine Audacity, she speaks of spiritual strength as our capacity to, number 1, stand undaunted in the midst of shifting circumstances. That she labels as stability. 2, to act courageously. That she calls courage. And number 3, and to stay the course, which recognizes the strength of tenacity or perseverance. So I'm going to take you back 2 weeks ago, if you were with us or if you weren't, but I spoke about tenacity, the staying the course and the perseverance. And I shared with you 7 steps that you could take to develop your muscle of perseverance. If you want to be reminded, you could go back to that talk. And don't worry, I'm not going to quiz you on those 7 steps today. However, I am going to go back to step number 4, which was whenever you want to persevere, let's say you're running a race and you want to go the distance, one of the things you need to do is train. You need to train. And what do you need to train in order to have more perseverance? You need to train your brain because all strength, in fact, everything in life is a matter of consciousness. What we think, what we perceive, and what we believe. So we have to train this mind, otherwise it runs us. So how does one train our brain? Well, one way we can do that is through the use of mantras or affirmations. How many of you use affirmations or mantras? Okay, I'm seeing some hands. I got a great imagination. An affirmation is defined as a statement or declaration of something that is true. Positive affirmations are positive phrases or statements used to challenge and to eliminate negative or unhelpful thoughts that often hold us back. A mantra has two definitions. It's a word or a sound that is repeated to aid in concentration when meditating. And the second definition is it's a statement or slogan, often perceived as true, repeated frequently. So you can have an affirmation that you repeat over and over, and that becomes a mantra. Now, I shared some affirmations a couple weeks ago from what I called the warrior perspective. I went to a camp called Warrior Camp, and then I went to one called the Wizard Camp. A few of these affirmations from the warrior camp were, I am a warrior. I act in spite of fear. I am a warrior. I do what it takes. I am a warrior. I'm willing to do what's hard. This one's probably my favorite. I'm a warrior. I act in spite of my mood. You know, when you have the program and you don't feel like it, but you got a program and you want to stay on it, you act anyway. And I'm a warrior. That which is in me is bigger than any obstacle, and I'm a warrior. I never give up. So that's the warrior, very focused. And I'm going to share with you some of the differences between a warrior self, because we all have the warrior self in us, and we have what is called a wizard self. So would you like to know the difference? I'm going to guess yes. So a few of the differences. The wizard's way is the way of action. Did I say that right? The warrior's way is the way of action. The wizard's way is the way of attraction. The warrior achieves. The wizard receives. The warrior is based on yang energy, that which is directive power. Wizard is based in the yin energy of the soft or yielding power. The wizard has the ability to focus. I don't know if I said that right. Warrior has the ability to focus. The wizard has the ability to flow. The warrior strives to be objective, and the wizard knows everything is subjective. The warrior observes their thoughts. The wizard observes the space between their thoughts. The warrior looks to control life. The wizard surrenders to life. The warrior creates miracles, and the wizard receives miracles. Now, if you have studied anything about masculine and femininity traits, you might recognize that the warrior tends to be more of that which is our masculine selves, because no matter what gender you are, we all have that part of us that is directive, action-oriented, takes action, is seeking to have focus. And then we have the other aspect of ourselves, which is more of the flowing and receptive part of our being, which is the wizard or the feminine. What we know is that both energies are essential to life. We need a time of action and we need a time of receiving. Both of them needed. And we need to recognize when we need which one and to have a balance. There's a time when I need that action part of me, And there's a time when I need to stop taking so much action and sit back and let the universe do its part. So you can now see that there are differences in this thing called strength, our inner strength, and how they can both be expressed outwardly, action oriented as the warrior, or the inward directed, the open, and the more receiving aspect of the feminine. Now, today I want to go into a couple dimensions of what is more relatable to the wizard aspect. That's why today's topic is called, title is The Way of the Wizard. Now, these two aspects are often not seen as strengths. They're often seen as weaknesses. So, would you like to know the two most easily hidden and misidentified aspects of inner strength that you have? I'm listening. Is that a yes? I heard yes. The first one I want to speak to you about is vulnerability. Vulnerability. What do you associate with vulnerability? Perhaps fear, hurt, weakness, betrayal. The definition of vulnerable is to be susceptible or open to physical or emotional attack or harm. Another definition of vulnerable is capable of being physically or emotionally wounded. So it's about this capacity of being hurt. We risk being open because we could be hurt. Now, as children, we're open and we're free and we're happy to share ourselves with everybody and anything. And as we grow and mature, we learn that the world can actually be a rather painful place, right? Right. So over time, we learn to protect ourselves. That's only natural. Who wants to be hurt? So we fear being hurt, and so we start building up walls and defense mechanisms to keep ourselves safe, because safety is primary in surviving. And so being vulnerable, being open, it is actually just put in the closet with the door closed, because being vulnerable in any way opens us to the possibility of being harmed emotionally, physically, or otherwise. So we seek to avoid being vulnerable pretty much at any cost. And there is a cost. That's the lack of intimacy, the being able to be authentic, close relationships, often loneliness. You say that vulnerability is a double-edged sword. Those who protect themselves to avoid getting hurt also fail to have close and intimate relationships. Brene Brown says, and she's an expert, she's studied vulnerability. She says, vulnerability is about showing up and being seen. It's tough to do that when we are terrified about what people might see or think. Now, I recently became aware of some of my own vulnerability. And as you may know or may not know, as I'm evidenced by the hat I'm wearing, that June is known as Pride Month for the LGBTQIA plus community. I know that's a whole lot of initials: gay and lesbian, bi, trans, and other initials. I won't go into those. Now, I'm an openly gay woman, and I'm very happily married to Reverend Divine. And I don't live in fear in being out in the world, and we often walk around in public holding hands. It's not a thing for us. What was interesting to me was having the thought of displaying a couple of the pride flags here at our church. Now, I'd seen some small flags, and I thought, I'd like people to know that we are a gay and lesbian friendly church. And so why not buy some flags? I've seen another church that has a little flag symbol on their sign, and it caught my eye. And I would be interested in attending that because it spoke to me in my orientation. So what surprised me, that there was a part of me in Divine too that was hesitant to put the flags up at our church. And I had to say, what was that about? We're open, we're out in public. And I discovered it was about being vulnerable. See, openly displaying a pride rainbow flag could open the church to folks who are hateful. And anybody who's hateful is really actually fearful of anything that is different from themselves, and they try to destroy it. So displaying flags could, in truth, make us, as Unity of Fort Collins, vulnerable just for being an openly LGBTQIA plus friendly and welcoming community. And I was shocked, actually, that I had this sense of vulnerability. It also made me think about the folks of the people of color, Black Lives Matter, Asian people, how they must feel so much of the time, consciously or unconsciously. There was a keynote speaker at the Unity Convention. Her name is Dr. Amanda Kemp. She did a poem called Walking While Black. And I'm getting the God bumps just talking about it because it's deep, and I may be able to show it here at the church someday. Being vulnerable, in truth, is not a sign of weakness. Being vulnerable can actually be our greatest strength. Another quote by Brene Brown, she says, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. Brene Brown says in her text called Rising Strong. So I want to invite you to close your eyes now. Take a deep breath and let it go. Take a couple more breaths. Good. Where in your life have you been holding back? Where in your life have you been holding back some piece or part of yourself for fear that by expressing or sharing this part of you, you risk the possibility of being misunderstood, not accepted, or perhaps rejected? You might be dismissed, made fun of, not taken seriously. Now breathe. Just notice. Just notice what you're feeling. Are you feeling a little bit anxious, constricted, afraid in any way? Good. Just notice. The first step in being vulnerable is to recognize its existence, to accept that there is fear and vulnerability, that it exists. Now breathe again. And let's tap into the power and the presence that is breathing you now and always. As you breathe, get a sense that there is a power and presence, could call it great spirit of life, that is ever present. And it is here to love and to support you in being your most authentic divine self. As you get a sense of this power and presence that is your strength, imagine now that you feel this presence within you, and actually as you take the step or the action that you recognize that you feel vulnerable about. Imagine letting go of your inner protector and see yourself taking the action to express your truth, your most authentic self, with great spirit as your guide. Good. Now breathe. Imagine yourself successfully moving past and through your fears, and now you're on the other side. Notice what you're feeling now. Maybe a relief, maybe pride that you were able to do something and to share a part of yourself. It was Rumi who said, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." So breathe that in and invite you to come back into the room, into the space. Vulnerability is a strength. Thank you for joining me in that journey. The second is somewhat like it that I wanted to mention to you, and the word is surrender. Now, at first talk about what surrender is, you might think of surrender means you give up, you lose, you are resigned to it being the way it is. Might make you think of a white flag, like, you know what, this is no use. I'm never going to get anywhere, and everything I want or try, I can't get there. It's often this idea of surrender that is thought of from that ego definition, but there's a different definition. And I take this from the 5 Gifts for an Abundant Life book and a class by Reverend Diane Harmony. And she says, surrender from its human and ego definitions and understanding is to look at to whom we are being asked to surrender. The answer is on this affirmation. And this is another mantra, an affirmation I'm going to give to you. And you might want to write it down. It is, I surrender to the power and presence of God within me. I surrender to the power and presence of God within me. We had to say that 100 times a day for 8 weeks. I timed it, it was 5 minutes. And you can play with that. I surrender to the power and presence, and you can say the divine within me if God is not your word. I surrender to the power and presence of spirit within me, of love within me. You can put words that recognize God, what you would like to have. I'd like to have more peace. I surrender to the power and presence of peace within me. And I like to say, and as me now. So say this with me. I surrender to the power and presence of love within me and as me now. Say that 100 times a day. Make it an experiment for this week. I surrender to the power and presence of God within me now, and within me and as me now. And when you do that, you're training your brain to have a new way of looking at things. Surrender is to let go of having things be our way when there could be something that is far greater, except that we often get in the way. One of my prayers is, Spirit, help me to move out of the way, because there is a way within us so much deeper. And I would like to connect and surrender to that power and presence. It's not something outside of me, it's inside of me. And again, it only wants my highest and greatest good. So in closing, I would invite you to close your eyes once again. Take a breath in and let it go. Now imagine allowing the sweet, sweet presence of the divine within you to live your life. Imagine the infinite choices opening to you. Imagine the ease and the grace that open every moment of every day, and the relief that you would feel if you really knew that you were not alone, that you don't have to do it by yourself, and that within you is a knower guiding you, directing you, maintaining and sustaining you. Imagine surrendering into that wise, holy self. That is sweet surrender. When we accept this gift of surrender, it expresses itself through us as the quality of trust. Usually we are called on to surrender our way of believing or doing things when we're out of options and nowhere to turn, when the pain is too great, and when we thought what would work fails time after time. We find ourselves just surrendering. To make that choice to surrender is to be at the headwaters of the river of trust. Surrendering to the power and presence of the divine within and as us allows us to float freely on the wisdom of the holy self, guided by the internal voice of intuition and powered by the winds of love to these shores of infinite possibility. I surrender to the power and presence of divine love within me and as me now. And let us affirm and accept that by saying together, and so it is. May you enjoy your week. Surrender, be vulnerable. You have it within you. And so it is.
And now it's time for our prosperity blessing. The words will be up on the screen, and I'd like you also to read that or speak that aloud. This is that time where we acknowledge the contributions that are offered up in green love via PayPal, mailing in a check, dropping off cash, as well as your sacred seva, your treasures and talents that you offer in community service. It takes a village for all of this to come together so that we not only have our community inward, we have our community online, and we also have our community outside of the building. So please also know that besides the contributions that you make and how they support keeping everything running here in the building, we also contribute to charities out in the community monthly. And your contributions help us to do that. All righty. I like to take whatever I'm offering and put it in my hand and hold it to my heart, because it helps me to remind myself that it is all from love. I give abundantly from love. And if that works for you, great. So if you'll join me, our prosperity blessing, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Hi, I'm going to do a song by Sean Golden called Shotgun Down the Avalanche. I'm riding shotgun down the avalanche. Tumbling and falling down the avalanche. So be quiet tonight, the stars shine bright on this mountain in fallen snow. I will raise up my voice into the void. You have left me nowhere to go, riding shotgun down the avalanche. I love you so much, and it's so bizarre, a mystery that goes on and on and on. This is the best thing and the very most hard. We don't get along. After countless appeals, we keep spinning our wheels on this mountain of new fallen snow. So I let go of the latch and we are over the edge. You have left me no riding shotgun down the avalanche. Tumbling and falling down the avalanche. Sometimes you make me lose my own direction and feel I'm just a beacon for your soul. My past is stronger than my own affection. Is it you or is it me? I don't know. I'm riding shotgun down the avalanche. Tumbling and falling down the avalanche. So be quiet tonight. Be sure to step lightly on this mountain in fallen snow. I will raise up my voice into the void. You will left me nowhere to go. Riding shotgun down the avalanche.
Please join me in saying the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. The presence of God watches over us. I am that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Hi again. We're going to finish up today with the peace song Unity version. And sing along with me after I play all the way through. I'm going to play it again. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that wasn't meant to be, with God. my joyous vow to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Oh yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
Thank you, Elle. So grateful for your presence here today. Thank you for sharing the gift of you and your music. We're blessed to have you with us today. And I just want to say happy Pride Weekend to everyone. May we open our hearts to the power and presence of love within us, knowing that we have a strength far greater than we could have imagined. And it's right here with you, through you, and as you. You're never alone. You have an inner strength and an inner power. Remember that and have a beautiful week. See you next time. Namaste.